Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. So I'm recording this a different way. I wanted to see how it would work. So you'll have to excuse me if anything goes wrong, but I hope everyone is okay and doing well. I am. Yep. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is something that has has been on my mind for a while, and it's about aliens, in space, outer space beings. That I've never really been into this as such. Other members of the family have, and I remember them telling me different things, but I always thought there was other explanations for what they were saying. But anyway, since lockdowns, I think, as well as a lot of people probably, I've been hearing a lot more about outer space beings and all these different races, alleged races, such as Palladians, the Greys, the Anunnaki, the Nordics, the Lyrans. There's so many of them that we hear about. And I started to look a little bit more into it because I'd had experiences of various things in the past. And I thought, well, is this a possibility? Because I'm one of those people that I've got a very open mind and I want to look at all possibilities before I decide on what I'm going to believe or not believe, or what I think something is or isn't. So I thought, well, the experiences that I'd had in the past, the possibility of it being something to do with aliens, that was a possibility that I needed to look at. So I started to go into it, and I was listening to quite a lot of people on social media talking about these different races and giving messages that they were saying they were getting from different races, like the Pleiadians and the Arcturians, etc. And so I started to look a little bit further as well, because what struck me straight away as I was listening to these people, all these alien beings walk on two legs and speak English or are telepathic in English, which seemed to me rather convenient. I don't believe in coincidences, and this seems to me too coincidental. If what we're told is true, that those things up there are planets and stars, which I have no reason to believe it's not true, that's what I was taught. That if you listen to people on social media, they do say other things now. So I don't know. I've never been up there to check. So I can only go by what I've been taught. So if they're planets and stars, it seems to me that would be very stupid thinking that we're the only ones with, or the only planet with life on it. There's bound to be others out there as well. But will that life be walking on two legs, be humanoid, and be speaking English? What's the chances now? Millions to one. So it seems to be a little bit weird, that does. So going back to the two legs, one of the races I heard about was the mantids, and I've even seen drawings of them. Now, mantids are insects and they have six legs. But when you look at these drawings, the six-legged beings are walking on two legs and operating controls of a spaceship. Well, if you've ever seen a picture of a praying mantid, then you'll know what I'm saying here. If there's knobs on that control panel, then they're well and truly buggered. So that was one thing I thought was a bit ridiculous. And when you look at the human race, we are very self-aggrandizing. And what I mean by that is that we think that we're the most intelligent being on this planet. So this is how we have been brought up. This is what we've been told. And when you think about it, we're only told this because the controllers, the people in control of the world, can then use everything as a commodity. That's all they're doing it for. You know, we better than everything else, so we can use it as a commodity and do whatever we want. That's the reason they've taught us this. So if you think back with all the scientists and that saying that animals are robotic and don't feel pain and don't feel emotions, absolute bloody nonsense. We've learned far more since then. But unfortunately, we still think that we are the best on the planet and the most intelligent. Very self-aggrandizing. So if something doesn't walk on two legs, and if it doesn't communicate in the way that we communicate, we can't accept it as being intelligent. So any being that comes from space, which is flying a spaceship and going through wormholes and portals and all the rest of it, then it's obviously got to be intelligent. So therefore it must walk on two legs and it must be able to communicate with us. That's the way our brains work. Okay, so now let's look at some more facts here. Right, so in August 1945, President Truman signed the paperwork for Project Paperclip. There's a lot of information about this on the internet and in libraries and books and things, so you can go and have a look it up for yourself if you want. But Project Paperclip was where the Nazi scientists were taken over to the States so that they could continue their research. And this research was predominantly on things like missiles and rockets and space exploration, things like that. In 1947, 2 years after Project Paperclip was underway, we had Roswell. Again, coincidental? Like I say, I don't believe in coincidences. A lot of things were said about Roswell. Oh, it's this, it's that, it's the other, it's not this, it's not that. Make up your own mind about that. But I will say this, when somebody hits on something that is true or isn't true, when another person wants you to believe something, it's best for them to stay silent, because then the other person, their mind starts to add on the story and their imagination begins to work. So if you think back to Roswell, when people were saying it was a UFO that crashed and there were aliens on board, and the US government never said a word about it. And of course, that story about the aliens and the UFO started to spiral. Very easy for the government not to say anything, let that sink into people, let them think what they want. All right, so that, and shortly after that, we got the abduction started, and that started to spiral as well, the abductions and mutilations of the animals and things like that. Now, when you look into the abductions, and first and foremost, I'm going to say here that I firmly believe that things have happened to the people who've said that something has happened to them. Whether it's an abduction by alien beings from outer space, that's a question we can't answer. So I firmly believe that something has happened, but is it beings from outer space? Well, let's just have a look at this for a minute, because a lot of these people in the abductions, they say that they've seen men, human beings in black, standing behind the alien doctors when they've been having experiments and operations and things like that. Some people saying they've seen military people, again, human beings standing behind these people. Well, to me, if there's human beings there, that tells me that human beings know far more about it than what they're letting on. But again, it's a lot easier when people are saying I was abducted by an alien, which could have been a human being wearing a suit, couldn't it? Possibility. So if they want the stories of alien beings to get out there, it's much better for them to stay silent and just let our imaginations take over and build it, because that's what's happened. Let's have a look at another few things here. Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to look at, Project Paperclip, right? The Nazis were taken to the States, as I mentioned. Now, the Nazis, as probably everybody knows, they were after an Aryan race, and they wanted people to be blonde-haired, blue-eyed, athletic, and attractive, young as well. So let's have a look now at the Palladians and the Nordic alien beings. Blonde hair, blue eyes, attractive, athletic. And if you do a search on the internet, put in images, they'll come up. None of them are dark skinned, they're all fair skinned, exactly what the Nazis wanted. Coincidental? Again, I don't believe in coincidences. Right, so I think that's very much what they wanted, what they were aiming for, and it's now well out there. This is something that people believe firmly. A lot of people believe firmly in. So the Nazis have got their Aryan race there well and truly. All right, so now let's have a look at a few other things as well. And that people talk about the Anunnaki and the fact that they brought us, well, some people say they brought us, the Anunnaki brought us to the earth and started doing genetic experiments and things like that. In fact, I've heard different stories, right? Quite a few different stories. But this is just one of the ones that I've heard about our existence on the planet. That we were brought here by the Anunnaki. They were doing genetic experiments and we were basically their slaves. So if they're coming back, which again, some people say they're going to come back or they are back, then if we were once their slaves, what's to say that they are not still going to look at us as slaves? Because at the end of the day, we are slaves anyway to the controllers, the people in charge of the planet. We are slaves. We get up in the morning, we go to work, we work ourselves six. Most people work from 9 to 5. Some people work a lot longer than that. In fact, I know people who work from 7 in the morning till 6 in the evening. What home life do you have apart from the weekend? And yet some people work on a Saturday or a Sunday as well, right? And then you're paying all that money that you think you're earning, you're paying it all out anyway on your bills and everything else. So they're giving it you and they're taking it back off you as well. So you're still a slave. There's no such thing as anti-slavery or freedom. We are all slaves. All right, so as well, there was a person I was listening to on social media recently in the last few weeks who was saying that they were abducted a few times, and they actually said that they had managed to get off the table where they were being or were going to be operated on or examined or whatever, and they had run down the passageway. They'd seen people, military people, and then they'd run into a room and seen costumes hanging up. And that person said that a guy, he thought that the people who were aliens were actually people wearing costumes. And I thought that makes a lot of more sense to me anyway. Then you've got people like I don't think I'm going to mention names, but you've got a certain person who has done quite a few videos, very interesting videos, saying that he works at an area near Area 51, quite close there, and he was an engineer on so-called UFOs, or they're calling them something else now, aren't they? But anyway, you know what I mean. So but when you listen to his videos, some of the things he says changes in each video. Like on one video, he says these craft, I think he said there were 6 of them. I can't remember whether he said 6 or 9, but he said that they were slightly different in the one video, and then in another video he says they were very different. On one video, he's talking about some damage on the one craft where it sounds as though part of the side is bent over, but then on another video he says the damage goes right the way through. So when I listen to these videos and I'm hearing these discrepancies, and in the one video as well, he's been interviewed by and I will mention this person's name because it's just an interview. I will mention that this person was being interviewed by Joe Rogan, and he's got somebody else there as well who's helping him, but all the time he's speaking, he's looking like, is it okay if I say this? You know, like he's trying to get confirmation that it's okay about what he's saying, looking all the time, and I found that very suspicious. He also, a couple of the questions that Joe Rogan asked him, where they were particularly wanting particular information, particular details of his story, he'd suddenly got a migraine, which I also find very suspicious. Like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. You know, if you've got a migraine, have a tablet, you painkillers. We all get stuff like that from time to time. You get on with things, you have painkiller, you get on with things. If it's too bad that you can't manage it, then you tell the people, can we rearrange this meeting, don't you? Simple as that. But he didn't. He went straight in, I've got migraine, when he couldn't answer the question. So with that particular person, I think his story about working on this craft, is there any truth in it? We don't know. There might be. But I reckon that what he's saying he has been told to say these things. I firmly believe that it's a story that they want to get out for some reason. Now, I suppose the question is, why do they want this story out as well? And I'm going to look at some cards around this as well. Okay, but another video I heard recently as well, a very interesting guy. He was he mentioned President Trump and saying that President Trump was asked if he wanted to give information out about UFO disclosure and stuff like that. And apparently President Trump turned around. Now, I don't know how true this is. I'm just going by hearsay on what I heard on this video. He seemed quite believable, this guy did. And according to him, President Trump said, no, I can't give this out. If you saw what was in those documents, you would know why I can't give it out and why I'm not giving it out, which I found quite interesting as well, if it's true, as I say, which so brings us to the question as to why they would want this coming out. If it's a story, why do they want us to believe it if it's a story? So I think, first of all, it may be that there are alien beings there. There's certainly a lot of countries who've set up a space program. We hear it all the time, don't we? And if you go on the internet and look at, I think it was badges, space program badges, you'll find them for countries that you would never even think would have a space program. That, like Hong Kong, for instance, have got a badge for a space program, and all these different countries, which is quite strange. And but then when you think as well that especially the American governments, they've said, like Ronald Reagan said, something about warfare being in space. And also we know, like the Chinese, the Russians and the Americans, they want satellites and missiles and things like that up in space, because they can do a lot of things from satellites and stuff like that. Like a lot of the fires recently, they've actually seen like laser beams coming down, setting fire to places. They've actually got that on video. So there's all those things that things in space would be better for them to use their missiles and stuff like that. They can use it as a weapon, basically. So there's that. But also, if if there are alien beings, right, and they want to get this out, if those alien beings were nice and were good and were helpful and wanted the best for us, then surely there would be no reason why they would keep it quiet, would there? But if it's something that they want to come out very gradually, and they also feel the need to get these space programs underway, is it because these alien beings, whatever they are, and we've had all these films, haven't we? War of the Worlds and all the others that I can't remember the name of at the moment. But we've had all these different films where these alien beings have been trying to wipe out the planet and everything on it. Is that why they're just trying to allow us to give our imaginations a boost? And now at the moment, because people think there's a galactic council and there's this, that, and the other, and they're all good and all the rest of it. Is this why now all of a sudden all these disclosures are coming out? Hang on a minute, that they think everything's good, maybe it's not, and they want us to think something else. I've actually heard people saying, oh, when they come down and these spaceships come down, we can get on them. They're going to take us somewhere else safe. Yeah, right. I, I'm certainly not going to get on one of them, right? I'm not going to end up on somebody's dinner plate. Forget that for a lark. But if you want to jump on board, go ahead. Keep me well ahead of it, though. I'm keeping my feet firmly planted on the ground. Thanks very much. And that also brings me to another thing I've heard of these people talking about ascension. We're going to ascend from 3D to 5D. We can't do 4D because that's the demonic realm. And that ascension, yeah, we're going to be taken in spaceships to this other planet. There's another planet that looks very much like Earth, but it's a new Earth, and apparently this is 5D Earth. And we have to go on these spaceships to get there. Sounds very much like some of these cults. You remember these cults where Heaven's Gate was one, wasn't it? And there was another one as well where the people committed suicide and murdered their kids because they believed they were going on a spaceship to another planet. Really, I think the ascension thing, I think my feelings on that, I'll put on another video. Oh, well, yeah. Right, let's look at a card anyway around alien beings. What shall I ask? I have cleansed the cards, I've done it beforehand. Right, are there alien beings? Let's just ask that first. Are there alien beings in existence from outer space? Yeah. Are there actual beings from outer space in existence? Are they real? Okay, I've got the Nine of Wands there. All right. So I would say that that's a yes. Wands is quite an active card as well, so I would say that they're active at the moment. The way she's standing there, like ready to fight. Is that an indication for us that we must be ready to defend ourselves? Possibly, maybe. Is that an indication that they're going to help us? The fact that she's standing in front of them, in front of the wands, the staves, maybe. I think this is a card that could be seen as both ways. You've got the sun coming up or the sun setting in the back. If the sun's rising, could be a good thing. If the sun's setting, we may need to fight. She's smiling. She's wearing red as well, which is energy. You've got the blooms on the wands. And in the grass. There you can see it's a little bit better, I think, there. Yep. So I think maybe both there. That maybe there are some good and there are some bad. So maybe some of what they're saying is true. Let's look at one of the oracle cards. I'm going to ask another question of the cards as well once I've done this one. These have got a bit of a cosmic feel, so I'm going to ask the same question. Are these beings from outer space real? Do they exist? Okay, so look, these are the beyond Lemuria. Okay, what I've got here is the crown chakra, the unlimited self. So again, I would say that's a yes. And the fact that the crown chakra is there, this is where we get information from our higher self. So it's basically saying trust your instinct, trust your gut feelings. The fact that it's saying unlimited as well. Maybe there are far more alien beings than what we realize. But the feeling I'm also getting from this is that it's not, and this is just my intuition, this is not just from up there. I reckon there are beings on the earth as well. The fact that it's saying unlimited, I think it's not just space, it's from the earth as well. So the next question I'm going to ask, are they good or bad? Are these beings from outer space good or bad, or both? Okay, I've got the tower upside down. A bit of a strange one, I think, for this. So when it's upside down, it's normally meaning that disappointments and delays and things like that have happened already. We're now on the way out of it, and we can look at different things, new beginnings. And again, just going by my intuition, which is what we have to do with the cards, the feeling I'm getting from this is that that maybe we were already under attack and they've managed to sort it out. and it's ended. Maybe. And that they're now looking for a new beginning, a new start on things. Let's see what comes up with the Beyond Lemuria oracles. So are these aliens good or bad? Wasn't really an answer from the tarot, was it? See what comes up with this one then. So I've got alignment on this one. Okay, that's that card. Alignment. Things lining up. So when we ask the question, are they good and bad? And we get alignment. Maybe deals have been struck. Maybe they were both good and bad, and there are no deals being struck. So that some kind of alignment can be made, because when you strike deals, you reach a compromise, don't you? You reach some kind of an agreement which can actually stop a war, can stop problems, commercial problems, anything like that. So again, going back to the Tower upside down, has something actually just happened or recently happened that they've managed to stop? Interesting. Very interesting. Let me know what you think underneath. I'm just going to ask another one. Right, what am I going to ask here? How shall I phrase this question? Can we trust any beings from outer space? Can we trust any beings from outer space? Let's try that one. I've got the star upside down. I would take that as a no, that we can't. I would say that intuition wise, that the star's not always a bad card, even upside down. But I would say it's not as good as that way, is it? You know. So I would say, looking at that, even though there may have been deals struck, there may have been maybe confrontation avoided, things like that, that we still shouldn't trust things, and we should still be on our guard. Not confrontational and not warlike, but definitely aware of what's around us, and as I say, on our guard, and not taking things for granted that everything's okay. That's the same question with these ones. So can we trust these beings from outer space? What have we got? Loving compassion. Okay, so I would say that goes on again with what I've said. Just be aware, be on our guard, but also don't be confrontational or warlike or aggressive. We should still show the fact that we are we do have a higher consciousness, and we can be loving and compassionate. And often as not, when we treat other people in that manner, well, that's what we can get back most of the time as well. So I think, yeah, that's quite a nice one to have. Again, it's number 16. That's the number of the Tower card. Interesting. Right. Let me know what your thoughts are at the bottom, and what your beliefs are as well as alien beings. Let's say for me, I think a lot of the stories that we'll be hearing, have been hearing from social media and people on social media. I don't believe that those stories are based on facts. Although I do believe that there is some truth, but I also believe a lot of these abductions and things are government forces or military forces, not actually alien beings. That's just my opinion. So anyway, I'll catch you next time, and I hope you have a really good day, and enjoying yourselves wherever you are in the world. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.